Here at Howe Equipment, we specialize in used sales, specifically zero-turn mowers, ATVs, and side-by-sides. So we do this professionally, where we are buying used mowers from private party individuals, and we really go through a detailed checklist as to what we're looking for once these come through our shop, and ideally once we're going to pick them up. And I think it's going to add a lot of value to you guys looking at used mowers out there. The world of Facebook Marketplace nowadays, there's a lot out there, but you can't always trust, obviously, the source that's there. You got to go and inspect this stuff yourself. So even us as professionals, the stuff I'm going to show you, every once in a while, it could sit overnight, or a problem doesn't really show up for 30 minutes or an hour. So this is going to be hopefully something that helps you guys, so we can eliminate 9 out of 10 problem mowers when you're going to purchase. Not everyone's got a mechanic in their shop to fix it as soon as it comes in, like us here at Howe Equipment. So today we're looking at a used Toro Z Master. This is a higher end Toro, and it's not like we just buy Toro. We see every make and model. We'll show some clips of some other mowers, of different things we look for, but done it so many times, there's a lot of things to check. So let's go ahead and look at this mower. If you are going to buy a used mower, first of all, before you even go and inspect the mower like I'm about to do, number one most important part is talking to the person that used it before, asking them how they used it, how long have they had it, what did they use it for. Are you buying it from a person who seems like a straightforward shooter? And we know kind of 9 out of 10 times what kind of situation we're coming into based on who we're chatting with. So that's super important, just to have an idea as to how this was used and what type of person owned this before. Because ideally you want something that's lightly used, and money's always a part of that, making that decision, but get those details beforehand so you kind of know what you're walking into. Ask about some of the things I'm about to go over before you get there, so you don't waste all your time. So let's go ahead and look. We'll just walk around so you guys can see what we're looking at today. Toro Z Master, this is kind of a special one. It's a rear discharge, which isn't a super common, so no side chute here. It actually goes right out the back. Not super common for a zero-turn mower, but they make them. And this one's a 5000 series, which is kind of one of the top for Toro. Got the suspension seat, so this is a nice one that we've already looked over, and this is actually going to run through our shop here probably soon, because we're just about to list this for sale. So you kind of get this before I've even known what the mechanics have to say about the matter. So anyway, before I go, a lot of people want to hop on it, start it up and see what it can do. Don't start it yet. Go ahead and look around at everything. So let's go ahead. Kind of the first things I like to check out is going back to the motor and seeing, are there any oil leaks? So let's go ahead and look. I want to look around where the engine is sitting. So I'm looking all around this area, and I'm looking for any kind of oil residue. And this one, as I'm looking and I can kind of see back at this angle, there's really, this one's particularly clean. It's not uncommon to see oil residue that's dry. I'm not as concerned about seeing dried up oil that's black. If I'm seeing wet, moist, active oil, if the oil on the frame is looking like this and it's wet, then potentially there's a leak somewhere. If I can see, typically, there might be something around the oil filter, which would be the easiest fix. But that can get pretty pricey, chasing down leaks, if there's a seal that's bad or whatever the case may be. So that's number one, what I'm looking for. The most expensive piece to this investment is the engine. The next most expensive investments are the hydraulic pumps. And if you added the two pumps together, they probably cost more than the engine in some cases. So it just totally depends. So next thing I'm going to do is look at the hydraulic pumps. Now it's going to vary from mower to mower. This one's got Parker hydraulic pumps, which is a higher tier pump. And so it's going to look a little different than what some of them look like. And we'll show you guys in a clip over what some others look like. But these are the transmissions here. And you can see that they have fans, this particular one. So I'm going to look and see if there's anything, wrong with the fans. Is it missing any chunks? Same sort of thing. I'm looking generally on the top. Sometimes these are a lot easier to see. It's not super easy in this particular case. But again, even before I start it, I'm going to check for oil leaks. And a really common thing is for them to be dripping on the bottom. And so in this case, if we peek under this one, probably pretty hard to see in this camera angle, but this is the pulley that's right under the pump. A lot of the time your pumps, you can touch them right here and drag your hand right along the bottom, which is typically what I do to see if there's an oil leak. So in this case, I can't touch the bottom of the pump and see if there's any oil residue. I'm just trying to look best I can to look at both of these pumps. And again, you can't see these because the pulleys are in the way and they're actually mounted up higher on this particular unit. But again, we'll pan so you guys can see what's common. You know, for some other styles, and I'm still here in the showroom and this is a brand new unit, but just to show you the different styles that you're gonna see. Back here, this transmission is really visible, and this is what I'm talking about. I will, typically there's an O-ring that's kind of towards the front. You can't even see it with your eye, so I actually, with my hand, drag from the front to the back, and I'll make sure that I don't have any active oil in my hand. So that's another thing I'm checking. Those are expensive repairs when you have to fix oil leaks. And it's time more than anything. So you gotta pay a shop to do that, then that's gonna add up. So, you know, like I said, even before starting the machine, that's something to check for. So after that, I'm gonna look at kind of all those basic things. I've already pulled this out to kind of look at where is the oil level. You know, and I can wipe this clean and see where it falls. This oil right here, if it's jet black, hasn't been changed in a while. A little bit of a negotiation piece there to say, hey, you know, number one, it could have been maintained a little bit better if this was black. This isn't crystal clear either, so it's been used a little bit, but it definitely doesn't look like it's been abused. Now, if I wipe this clean, I'd screw it in, pull it back out, and see what that level is to see if that's where it's supposed to be, or is it low? If that's low, possibly it could burn some oil. This particular model has an air filter that's a little bit easier to access. And if I pull this off, the air filter, this one, there's a little bit in there. It looks like it could be blown out, but it's not horrible. And I think it's even got a pre-filter in there that looks pretty good. This one looks like it'd be fine to just be clean. You know, but you're gonna look in here and see if you see anything. You know, see it super dirty again. Was it, there we go. Was it abused, or has it been, you know, clean and taken care of? And then checking the transmission level, that typically is under the seat on these zero turns. So sometimes there's one area to check the transmission fluid. Some of them, the lower series mowers, don't even have a reservoir, okay? All the upper ones do. So this one has two individual reservoirs for each, and I can definitely see that there's oil in there. Kind of hard to, you could dip this in and see the level. I can definitely see that there is fluid in here, so that's good. Some of them have a bigger tank that you can see. If it's empty, it's got to get filled up, obviously. We don't want to run those transmissions dry, so that's definitely an important thing to check as well. You know, and when it's running, listen for, is there a miss to the engine? Might it need spark plugs, or is there any kind of internal engine issues? One last thing I want to do before we actually go ahead and start it up and look at some other things too, or look at the deck, is we see really commonly, especially if they're sat over winter, that a mouse can get in, or there can be something under the shroud. I don't think you really have to pull this whole shroud off, but I'm just kind of looking where it ends and goes to metal. Is there anything poking out of there? Does it look like there's a nest or anything? Because if you've got a nest that's in here and heats up this head, it's going to be some major issues that are going to cost a lot of money as well. And when this comes into our shop, one of the first things that our techs are going to check is the life of this battery. There's some cheap testers out there that are under $100. I think some even under $50. Don't expect you to have one of those, but it's really nice. You can get a tester and you can see what the battery life is. Not the end of the world if you get this home and the battery goes bad, because that's common. People are selling these and they charge the battery up before it goes out to you, and then it dies the next time you go to start it. So if you've got a battery tester at home and you can see, because you can get battery testers that'll say it's 100% charged, but the life is 20% or 10%, and that's going to let you know that you're going to have to do a battery. And that's not crazy expensive. It's going to be around $50 to replace a battery. So lastly, before starting it, the deck. So I want to look at the belt here, and they're not always as accessible as this one is, being a big commercial zero turn, but I can pull this off right now and I can look at the belt here. So I'm looking And you can see there is a little bit of wear, but this doesn't look bad. I'm looking for cracks. You can see right there is a hairline crack. You know, if it's something like this and it's not all the way throughout the machine, I'm not overly concerned about something like that, but you'll see a lot of repeated cracking in here, and that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for big notches out. So this belt is looking pretty good. There's a couple in here that drive. And then it just depends on what mower. Sometimes the belt that is driving the hydraulic drive system, sometimes that's a little bit easier to see. This one is a little more tucked and buried. You couldn't see it that well. It's another belt that you could check. And then lastly, typically, you got the blades that are a little more exposed out here, and what's the condition of the blades, and that could cost you anywhere between $50 and $100 sometimes just to get new blades on it. So what kind of condition are those in? And because this is the rear discharge, I really can't show you on this one. We'll show you in another one kind of what you're looking at, but that's one more thing to check. Things that add up dollars and cents, right? If you see any of these things, you know that's going to cost me $100 or $200 there. You got some room to negotiate. So now let's go ahead and look at starting it up. And what are you looking for when it starts up? So I'm going to probably let this run, and then we'll kind of talk about what I was checking for afterwards. And if that was real time, on top of what I just did, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, is I would drive this forward at full speed, and then I'd drive it back at full speed. And ideally, the right pump is going to be just as fast as the left pump. If it is veering to the right, moving forward, and then you pull the sticks back, and it's veering the same direction, in other words, if this is faster forward and faster in reverse, then potentially this pump is weak. These transmissions are super expensive. I think even on this particular model, I know it's over $1,000 to get one of these transmissions. So that's really the biggest thing you're looking for, is do you have good strength out of your pumps when you're going ahead and driving that. If you're faster forward on the right side, and then you pull them back and you're faster this way, then that is an incremental adjustment. It means this one's either got to get slowed down or that one's got to get sped up. And there are ways to adjust the sticks so that you go the same amount forward and back. So that would be less concerning. Minimal variance is not a big deal. If you're faster forward, then it's about the same in reverse. If there's not a huge difference, then that's really not the end of the world if there's a little bit of variance there, but that's a big thing that I'm checking. If you notice, I turned the blades on. I was listening to hear if I heard any loud noises coming from the spindles. If I did, I might grab the pulley and see, does that wiggle up and down? Do I have a bearing that's out? And I also idled it down. It's a good sign of a healthy engine if you're able to idle this down and it just purrs. You know, I don't want the engine revving up and down, surging. It's not a huge deal if I go all the way down on this and it dies out. Sometimes some machines, if they're older, just the idle might be even lower than what it should have been. So, but to me, that's really, I'm kind of looking for that. Can I idle it down? Can I idle it up? Is it smooth sounding? So there's just a general kind of consistency that you're looking for. There's a lot, obviously, to checking out zero-turn mowers. We actually, when we get them back to the shop, we have a inspection. I'm going to put this in the description, the link for this, but pretty much everything that we're going to talk about in this video is covered here. So that's going to be definitely helpful. Maybe take this with you, and it might be a good thing to kind of go through so you don't forget anything. I think I've went through everything on the list except I see one more, the hour meter, which is a really important factor on zero-turn mowers as far as what the value is. So if we look at this hour meter, right now this one's got 511 hours on it. We're upside down on it. But anyway, when you turn this on, typically on this style meter, something will happen when it's actually ticking. And in this case, if I were to turn this mower on, this little decimal place would start blinking. Some have literally an hourglass that shows up, and the hourglass starts pulsing and blinking when it's working. And besides that, some of them only turn on when the blades are engaged. I see that for some Husqvarna mowers. And super important factor to make sure that that's working. So I'm looking for all those little things. Some of them, like I said, will have the decimal that blinks, some have an hour meter that blinks, and sometimes the blades have to be on for that to happen. If nothing's blinking, then I will literally let these run for 6 minutes, which would be 1/10 of an hour, to see if it changes 1 digit. Some of them have a little separate piece over here that's got a 1 that appears and disappears, appears and disappears. So all those little things I'm telling you are things you can know within 10 seconds whether the meter's ticking. If you don't see any of those things happen, let it run for 6 minutes and see if it ticks over. Because if I'm buying a mower that's supposed to have 500 hours on it and it's not ticking, and I think it is, this mower could have 1,500 hours on it, you know? And you're gonna look and see, does it make sense? Like this particular mower's got 511 hours. Well, if I go around it, this is a pretty clean machine, which would make sense for 500 hours. You know, anything on a commercial unit under 1,000 hours is really pretty low, and the machine looks clean overall. So it definitely kind of passes the eye test as well. And those are just some of the big things. And hope this adds some value for you guys as to some stuff you're looking for. The biggest things protecting that investment is the transmissions and the engine. Those things are thousands of dollars worth of stuff. So leaks, number one, you want to look out for. And then, like I said, strength out of hydraulics, that's another huge thing. So thanks for tuning in. And at Howe Equipment, tool or toy, we have it.